All right.
There we go.
Can we hear? All right. We can't hear Stephen?
No.
No, okay, but you can hear me. So I'll go ahead and get
Yes.
started while he figures out his audio. Welcome, everyone, to the next edition of the Loom Lounge. We are here live at GodotCon in Amsterdam, and I can show you. There's all kinds of activity here. And we might be a little messy today because we are live and trying to figure out how to get a good connection and all that fun stuff that comes with being at a conference. So we're really excited to be here today. We're going to walk around the floor and kind of take a look at what's happening. We've got expo hall, which is where I am, which is a little, so I hope you can hear all right. We also have lots of people here. So we're going to start with Stephen, which is our VP of Learning Experience, and myself. We also have Sarah, our amazing game producer here, and Will, one of our engineers. So we're going to try to connect with them, see if we can find them in all of the hubbub that's happening around here. And we're going to just see if we can share what we've done at this trip and talk about Threadbare and all the things that we've engaged in. Sarah, can I just kind of throw it back to you, and you can give us a brief overview of what GodotCon is?
Sure. So GodotCon is a conference celebrating Godot and the people who use it. So as Heather mentioned, there is an expo, which is where everyone's showing off their games, and also not just games. There's some like Godot related projects. But then there's also talks that you can attend, and people have discussed everything from like how to use a very specific tool in Godot to their experience building games in Godot, or even like practical advice on like ways to think about different light. So really everyone is being brought together to celebrate this open source software and really just share ideas. And truly people are from everywhere, which is really incredible.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's people from all over Europe, from all over. And I'm going to try to turn my camera around so that you guys can see what I'm looking at here. All right. So the lighting might be a little hard to see what's going on, but we've got all kinds of activity. There are booths here from indie games, and everything here is being developed in Godot with open source technologies, and it's really exciting to see what we've got going on. All right, I'll change it back to me. So, Sarah, you've been here for a couple days. Stephen and I have just arrived because of some travel difficulties. Today was the only day that we could attend GodotCon, so we did miss the first day. Can you give us a recap of what day one looked like at GodotCon?
Wait, say that one more time. You kind of broke up a little bit. So
Sure. I'm sorry. I know it's a little bit. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty. No, it's good. So I'm curious what day one looked like because Stephen and I have arrived today. You guys were here yesterday, you and Will, one of our engineers. How did that go? What kind of activities are at GodotCon? What is GodotCon? What does that look like?
Sure. So day one,
it's a conference, but what does that mean?
So day one, we had an opening talk, and I think actually Will and I just caught the very end of it, but it was essentially kicking off the conference and saying, hey, we've got a lot of really great talks that are going to be happening at the same time. So there's like two theaters, and so you have to make the decision which talk you want to attend at any given moment. But yesterday we sat through several different talks. One of them was discussing kind of like the future of what audio looks like in Godot. We also attended someone's talk on game design and how to use friction as like part of the game design. So sometimes you'll play a game and they're really cozy and they're really easy and just very chill. This talk was about how to make difficult games like really really interesting and fun. And then oh gosh, there's so many different things, but really it's just everyone was really excited to reconnect because there's some people that went to Godot Fest or a different GodotCon. We had people going and getting lunch together during the breaks. We had people playing games together. Like truly, it was just everyone getting really excited about Godot. Really
awesome. Well, that's wonderful. It's really exciting to hear what day one looked like. Day two was extra special, though, not because Stephen and I arrived, but because Will presented on Threadbare. And so what I can do is I've been wandering the hall looking for Stephen, and I have found him. So I will hand over my phone to Stephen, and he can give us a recap of what that looked like, that presentation that Will gave. All right, so give me 2 seconds to connect with him. All right.
Oh, I see y'all through the window.
Hey everyone. Oh, my hand's in front of the camera. Look at that. That's gotta get technology used. So hi everyone. Thank you so much for your patience. I actually lost my sound and everything at the beginning, and then I lost Heather. But I am live at GodotCon, and it's been incredible so far. Phenomenal show. So much talent, actually. And that's one of the things I wanted to highlight is as we walk around this room, and this is just one of the rooms. It's actually in a cinema, which may have already been said to you, and so all the games are on being showcased on this massive cinema screens. But what's actually really impressive is the sheer number and level of developers that are here doing things that, like, we're developing this game, right? And we've got this whole Threadbare thing going. And every so often we'll come across a blocker, and we're like, oh, if only Godot did this, or if only we had a tool that joined Godot through an API so we could do that. And then you come here, and as a non-programmer, I'm just like, I honestly think to myself, wouldn't even know where to begin, probably not something you can even do. And then you get here, and these incredible people lined up along this window here are already doing it. They've already made a tool that does the thing that I thought we couldn't do 3 months ago. So that's my big thing. My big takeaway from GodotCon is the sheer brilliance of the people that are working with these tools. Yeah, back over to Sarah for some other reflections and highlights.
Sure. I'm also Will.
You're on mute, Sarah. You're on mute.
I'm trying to get him to join us, but he's troubleshooting right now.
We're not hearing you.
Okay, there. Yeah. No, Will is over there troubleshooting.
Nope, we're not hearing you. Okay, so
yep.
I don't know how this is going. I'm just gonna. We can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me? Wait, wait, hang on. Let's see audience check. Can you hear Sarah?
Yeah, okay. We're having sound issues, we're having video issues. My phone isn't even working Restream at all, so I don't know what's going on there. And that's what we get for trying to do this live. Now, I've lost Heather, so I'm going to go and try and find Heather. She said she was going to find someone else. So we're wandering around in this massive cinema, Pathé Cinema in Amsterdam. And we're just basically trying to find each other. So let me see if I can do that. Oh, Heather's outside. We found Will. I can see Will through a window. So I'm going to go and I'm going to get him. On our way. Here we go. And as you can see, for those of you who are not living in a sunny country, I'm sorry about that, but we are in sunny Amsterdam. So I'm heading back over. I'm going to pass you back over to Heather.
All right. Can you hear me okay, Sarah?
I can. Can you hear me though?
Oh, no, I cannot.
Oh no. I think everyone heard me before.
Oh. All right. Let's try that again. Can you talk again, Sarah?
Hello? Yes. Hi.
No.
No.
It's like he disconnected my Bluetooth. That's all right. I can hear you on my phone.
Okay.
I'll just stay away from noisy people.
Hello everyone.
Hi, Luis.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm the first time I appear on the Loom Lounge. I'm Luis, part of the Airless crew, and I just want to enter and say it's a pleasure to be with everyone, and I want to say we can hear Sarah. We can hear Sarah on the stream, and I believe the issue is that you cannot hear each other, but we can hear everyone. Like we can hear everyone on stream. Yeah.
Okay, so we just can't hear each other.
Yeah. That appears to be issue.
Okay, so folks watching us, we're so sorry. We don't understand our own technology. This is fabulous.
Well, I mean, it kind of showcases just how like these events are, kind of like hands-on and not always the, perfect thing that we want it to be. Today we were actually we were listening to someone give a talk about how they made 12 games in 12 weeks, which that's like a lot. And they essentially challenged themselves to spend 16 hours a week building a really tiny game, whether or not they were going to succeed or fail. And they really just wanted to get comfortable with finishing things and seeing whether or not, they're okay. Oh, there's Will. Will was also with me for that talk. But really, yeah, just understanding like what is it like to be successful, what is it like to fail, because failure is part of the process, and as game developers we have to get comfortable with it, because failure isn't necessarily like, it isn't a sign of whether or not you could be a good or bad developer, or if you are a good or bad developer. It's a sign that you are experimenting and you're thinking critically about the work that you're doing, and you're that much closer to finding the thing that you want to do and finding that success. Will, are you
I'm here.
Yeah. So I would love to ask you, how did it feel giving a talk here? Because I know at Godot Fest, we were kind of like on a stage looking out at people, but this time everyone was in a movie, like in a kind of like a theater looking down at you, and you were at the bottom. So.
Yeah, it was quite surreal. It's like in a massive cinema stage.
Mm-hmm.
With the world's biggest projector, of course, because it's a film projector. So I was glad that I spent the time to get the background and like put some time into getting some decent screenshots, because the display was there for it. Yeah, it was I think it was a good reception. I was scheduled alongside one of the co-founders of Godot on the other track, so there was some competition between the sort of like one end of the game making pipeline with Godot, and then us on the other side.
Hello, I'm here to join you on this camera.
And yeah, I've been late for this stream because I've been like bumping into people in the corridors for the last few hours. So I think yeah, people connected with it. It was I talked a bit about how intimidating it can be to make your first contribution to an open source project, file an issue, send a change, even just turn up in the chat and say, hey, is this really how it's supposed to work? And someone came to me afterwards, whose talk I saw yesterday, and said, oh yeah, that really resonated with him as well. He has a background in education as well, and like it's an easy to forget thing for people who do it every day.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any advice for anyone who's going to be giving maybe like their first talk at a conference? Because you've done this a couple of times now, right? So what advice would you give to someone?
Audiences at these kind of events are generally very friendly. So easier said than done, but if you can be put yourself in the mindset that people are there to support you, not to try and pick holes in it. But something that I learned relatively recently is that I used to write talks the day before I was doing them, and then I would basically be doing it for the first time on a stage, and it never runs to time. I realized midway through the flow doesn't work, and so what I tried to do, and for this one I think I managed, was I set myself a deadline of presenting it to a different group of people ahead of time. And so I did a dry run of this last week, and sure enough, it ran over by like 15 minutes and the structure was bad. So then I edited it and I recorded a video of myself running through it a second time, got some feedback on that one, did a third one, which I did a dry run of before I came to Amsterdam. And so this is the fourth time I've given the talk. So I've practiced it, and I once saw it phrased as, suppose you're speaking for half an hour and you're speaking to 100 people. Well, that's 100 times half an hour, which is you're taking 50 hours. So you probably should put more than half an hour of time into preparing it. It should probably be closer to 50 than 1 hour. I didn't spend 50 hours in the talk, but like...
It was very well put together, though.
It was great.
It would take some people 50 hours to do that.
Well, it would have been impossible without Joanna in particular, her feedback on last Thursday, where like she figured out that she had the solution to the structural problem of how do I to explain why Threadbare is designed the way it is, one has to first understand our learning programs. But to understand the learning programs, you have to understand Threadbare. So there's this kind of zigzag between the 2 points. And so Joanna figured out like the right framing of how I could move one section much earlier, then it all flowed very, very easily from there. But I tried like 4 different arrangements before that, and then
it had a really nice flow. And I have to say, and maybe you guys already talked about this when I was not on the call, but it was really, really cool to see Threadbare and scenes from Threadbare on this massive cinema screen.
Yeah. It was so cool.
Oh wow, look how big. It just really felt real. Like I felt like I was watching a movie, but in reality, it's this really accessible game that anyone can contribute to. And it was it was really, really inspiring. And I turned around and was looking at the audience while you were talking, and there was genuine interest. I mean, we did have several questions after. Maybe you could give us some examples of those questions that you got like after the talk.
Yeah, so one of the kind of themes of the talk was that that designing a game to be open to contribution from people at all skill levels involves trade-offs, and some of those affect different aspects of the game. And I spoke a bit about various aspects, but one of the specific questions I was asked is like to give some examples of technical design choices in the game, which exists, which were trade-offs we had to make for the kind of the context we're working in. So, yeah, the example I came up with on the hoof, which I'll try and remember now, is that we have this like funny dichotomy where we want the components of the game to be reusable by learners in their own story quests, so they can build on them without having to write their own code. We have to have a fair amount of magic where we are things. The different components can discover each other, and you can very easily get something going and asset swap it and so on without having to write code, which is great. But then what we've found several times is that when people want to go beyond our mechanics and they want to tweak the way that one of these challenges works, if we haven't anticipated the ways in which people want to do this, then the magic that we provide actually works against achieving some of the things people want to do. So they have to go through some contortions to bend our components in a way that was not intended. Whereas if we had designed pieces to need to be less magically coupled and to need more like manual plumbing to join things back together, it would sometimes be easier to achieve more varied things. So this is one of the trade-offs where I think we're going to have to keep tweaking it over time, that there's no one correct answer. And we together with the community are discovering as we go, like what works, what trade-offs do we stick with, what do we adjust.
It's striking that right balance, right? Easy but not too easy, challenging but not too challenging. So yeah, that's great. That's a great question. We also had some educators in the audience. And I know that a few of them spoke to Stephen about participating and wanting to have their learners, engage in something like this. And so even though this is a conference for tech people, I mean, it's a GodotCon, it's mostly developers, right? Is that the audience?
Yeah, I think so. But there's a lot more people at this event who are like very early in their game making journey than I expected. People who they're full-time students and they're making a game on the side. They're students of arts, so it's not entirely developers. But you're right. It's a pretty technically biased, in the neutral sense of biased event.
Great. For both Sarah and Will, either one of you could answer, and this will be our last question because I know we're a little bit short on time and it's been a little messy, but we're excited to just connect anyway. Has there been a single conversation that you've had with someone here that has really either changed your perspective on something or given you a new idea for Threadbare? If you could think about, I mean, we just walk around and we talk to all these people, right? So is there one conversation you've had that has really kind of, for either of you, really kind of either changed your perspective or given you a new idea for Threadbare?
I'll give Will some time to think. I mean, this isn't really a conversation per se, but like talking about that, talk about the 12 games in 12 weeks. I think that, it is astounding to see how brave people can be in putting themselves out there. And it made me realize that, production is really easy to kind of like hide behind documentation and like spreadsheets, which is wonderful, but there's different ways that I can also contribute. And it made me think like, what are the ways that we can have our own versions of jams for Threadbare? Like, how can we, make another pathway for people to be involved and to feel okay with being vulnerable? And so, coming out of this, I am really excited to get back and chat with everyone about what we can do. Like, I've been talking to Stephen about game jams too, but just finding really fun ways to experiment is so important. And I'm really glad that everyone here at GodotCon really embraces kind of that experimental attitude, because it's not about, making the best-selling, most amazing game ever. It's about doing something that you're really passionate about because you love doing it. Like, that's so inspiring.
Yeah, and to my point earlier, when we talk about those things, Sarah, and we think about like, we're going to redesign a game jam and it's going to be different, and we're going to try, we're going to forge an internship program or whatever. And quite often we think to ourselves, how do you do that? Because we haven't done it yet. And then you come to GodotCon and you realize that there's someone who can do almost anything you can think of. You just have to ask. And so, yeah, it just keeps coming back to this amazing community for me, and like how open and willing and clever these people are in the Godot and open source community.
Yeah. There's one talk that stuck out for me was that there was a talk where the speaker defined the concept of seamfulness as the opposite of something being seamless. So not seamlessness, but seamfulness. Okay. Where you say that when you create art of any kind, which games are art, then there's often you can as you make the thing, some of the decisions you made in the making of the thing are visible in the making of it. And so in the like clothing analogy, you have seams where you've joined two pieces of fabric together.
Appropriate for Threadbare.
Indeed, I thought that it was particularly good because the terminology matches, and the kind of prevailing wisdom is that you try and make things seamless. You try and smooth away the imperfections, which are the artifacts of how you've made the thing. And in his talk, he argued that the seamfulness is actually something you can embrace. You can say, yes, this is the way that it was made, and you accept the imperfections and you make them be the thing which gives character to the work that you make.
Kind of like this live stream.
Yeah, and like live stream, kind of like Threadbare, kind of like Godot itself. Like he gave an example of if you open some of Godot's like your project source files, there's a comment saying like, "Hello, this is not really meant to be edited by hand. You should edit it in the inspector," which is like, you didn't have to write this, but this is a message from a human in the past to someone now. So I thought that we can. It's particularly thematically appropriate for Threadbare, but I thought that's a great philosophy to try and think about how we can, celebrate the things that reveal how the thing is made, because how the thing is made is part of the situation.
That's great. I really appreciate that. I do think that I know that I said we'd have one more question, but Manuel just put a really nice question in there. I think we should maybe talk about Backstitch a little bit.
Yeah, I think we should. Yeah, how was the Backstitch? Yeah, it was a great talk. I hope it will be up on YouTube next week. I recommend watching it. So Backstitch is this version control tool where rather than using Git externally to Godot, you have the version control. It lives inside Godot. So when I hit save, my change replicates immediately halfway around the world and is visible in Manuel's editor. And I would say it was pretty well received. There were easily had the most questions of any of the talks I've been to. 10, 20 pounds. So there's a lot of excitement for that talk.
Anything that makes that, and I know I'm going to use the word seamless, so like against what you just said, but the experience of submitting to Git and the pull requests and that the version control is best for people. And so the Backstitch concept of version control inside Godot is one that's really appealing to a lot of people.
Yep.
For sure. Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's it, unless we have anything from the audience. It's been really nice to have everyone with us today. We do have to run. It is a busy time here. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next week, on Loom Lounge episode 5. And I actually don't know what that one's about. So it's been nice to see you this week, and we will check in.
Thanks for tuning in and being patient with our tech issues, everyone, and we'll see you on the next Loom Lounge. Thank you so much.
Bye everyone.